and swamped the east coast. In its wake, more than 300 lives were lost. Central London escaped, with the sea walls holding off the water by inches. But other parts of the Thames region were less fortunate. The night of January the 31st, 1953, brought Britain's worst natural disaster this century. Angela Lambert revisited the scene of the greatest devastation.
The sea walls of Canvey Island have been fighting the tides since the 17th century, but never had they known a test like the one they were to face on the night of January the 31st, 1953.
The realization of what had been happening down the east coast burst upon people only slowly on the Sunday. There had been a disaster at sea, a ship had foundered, and so on. And it was only slowly during that day that people realized the enormity of this terrible disaster. But in the early hours of the morning, I heard that part of my constituency, where I'd been on the day before, was underwater.
Canvey Island suffered worst of all. When the protecting wall was breached, the water came swirling through in a tremendous torrent, smashing homes and sweeping all before it. Most of the damage was done and the lives lost.
In a few hours, most of Canvey Island's 11,000 inhabitants were swept from their homes. And despite heroic rescue work, 58 people were to die in the flood and its aftermath.
I think the man who stood out, to my mind, as really the great hero of the occasion was Reg Stevens. He was the engineer and surveyor. He was been a sapper major during the war. And it was he who organized early rescue boats and so on to get at the people trapped in the worst affected areas and so on. And I was of the opinion that he behaved in a highly responsible and indeed heroic way.
Reg Stevens was roused at midnight by the island's police sergeant with the first news of the flooding. Canvey's fight for survival began at once.
People didn't seem to understand the size of the disaster, and the thing which was necessary was, of course, to alert people on the mainland to initiate a very big rescue operation, which would be taking place as soon as it got daylight.
But until then, the islanders were on their own. Most of Canvey lies below sea level, and few understood the danger better than Roland Day, now 83, keeper since the 1920s of the sea walls.
Only 10 foot from the toe of the wall here, our bungalow was.
And what happened then?
Well, I got out and got some of my chaps out there, and we went round knocking people up. That was before the tide could come through. And when we couldn't get any further than that, we came back, and one or two more around here, got the boats and went out and started to fetch them out.
This drowning building is now a pub. It's run by Mickey Sanders, one of several part-time firemen prominent in the rescue work.
I went to Barclays Bank, where I knew there was a boat there, and so I said to my friend, we'll take this bank manager's boat. And he was frantically knocking at the window, saying, you mustn't take this, you mustn't take this. Anyway, we took the thing, you see, and we proceeded to the road where I knew there was people, most people shouting. First I saw Mrs. Morgan sitting on the roof in a night dress, freezing cold, with a little baby just laying on the roof. She was too cold to hold the baby, it was laying on the roof. I saw Reggie Morgan sitting on the chicken house, so I thought, well, I must get the baby off first. But I suppose a funny part, if you could say it was a funny part, was Mr. Brown in Rainbow Road. He's standing at a gas stove with the water half inch from the top, making a cup of tea, and he wouldn't leave till he had his cup of tea. You know, it doesn't make sense, but I suppose it could have been nerves, I suppose. So we didn't know what to do, really. I couldn't see the cup of salt, it was just there.
Into the morning, the rescue continued. Recovering on the mainland, the survivors told their own dramatic stories of the disaster.
When the water came up, I got on the table and sat there for 4 days and 4 nights. The saddest part of all was I lost my teeth. I woke up early Sunday morning and asked my husband if he'd shut the window. When he got out of bed, he found that he was waist deep in water. Then I realised something was wrong. When I got up, I found we were surrounded by water. I climbed onto the door, hanging on the top with my foot on the knob for 9 hours until I was rescued by boat. My husband and I woke up to find the water as high as the bed. We both jumped out quick. I put my little boy on top of a high cupboard, and my husband went into the dining room, and I tried to follow him, but the water was too deep, and my poor husband, he was drowned.
Servicemen have been doing a very fine job building up and strengthening the seawall hour after hour. Sandbags by the million go into this work, a vital part of which is the construction and maintenance of the sluice gates through which the floodwater can flow away. It's a round-the-clock battle, and when we filmed the scene, the troops, working day and night, looked like winning the fight.
About 6:30 in the morning, I realized that the only solution was that Canvey Island should be evacuated.
And how many people had to be got out?
About 10,000 people actually were moved from Canvey Island during the Sunday.
And how many animals?
Oh, many hundreds of animals.
The evacuees and their pets were scattered over London and the southeast. Some were never to return. To many it looked as though Canvey, inhabited since Roman times, would have to be abandoned.
There were a lot of people who said that Canvey was finished. It's better to shut it down, evacuate the population. I never took that view, and nor did the island's councillors, and together we laboured to restore confidence.
Most of the island's population were back within a month. Fortified by new sea walls, Southend's little sister has now tripled in size. But for some, like Ray Howard, a third-generation islander, memories remain of that January the 31st when he was just 10.
The sadness was the community of Canvey Island, where everybody knew one another, where the bottom of the school child knew the top of the school child. And it was sad to say that some never returned, some that unfortunately got drowned. Some, which was a sad thing, was that their mums and dads had been drowned. And obviously, what could you say to a friend who had lost their mother or father by being drowned?
Do you think a night like that will ever happen here again?
Oh, God, I hope not, but I suppose it's possible. I mean, this Thames barrier's all very well for London, I suppose, but it's got to be proved this side of it, really, hasn't it?
So they say this wall's stand now for 1,000 years.